Good evening and welcome to the studio this evening. I'm Zaraganat in a very warm studio this evening, 28 degrees in here, and I've even got a fan running next to me just to try and keep myself cool, which it's not doing too bad a job of, which I'm shivering. It's 28 degrees in here and I'm shivering and I don't know why. Just the wind chill off this fan, I guess. And nice tall tower fan. She's doing quite a nice job, but it's really narrowly focused. Anyway, talking about narrow focus, let's narrowly focus on doing some of this. Nailing. Also narrowly focus on drinking cold water. Chilled with ice cubes, fizzy water. It's really nice. Okay. So yeah, let's just get on with it. I don't know quite what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get on with it. And we'll see where things go. So one thing is I cannot look at this shed in real life anymore. It no longer exists. It is an ex-shed. So if I wanted to look at anything, again, too bad. So I am working from a reference photograph for this. As I say, I can no longer look out the window. So as I mentioned before, this is about building up layers. I need to do some more on these. So once I've done a bit of this, I'll move up and do that, and then go somewhere else. Now, it could be total imagination, but you do seem to get a better colour depth and sort of looking things if you do build up layers, but that could just be a complete and utter wishful thinking. I guess I don't often do the same picture twice, once with sort of multiple colour passes and once with trying to do it as a single pass, so there's no actual evidence one way or the other. So it's more about just whichever way I happen to be most comfortable with at the moment. Now I have just turned this tool sort of sideways. So I can sort of go trail it rather than slide it sideways. That's just to make, because I've got an edge, then it makes it a little bit easier to come up to an edge when you're doing it against against an edge of the tool. So there's no hard and fast rules about how to hold a pyrographic tool. Actually, I suppose there is one one hard and fast one, and that is you don't hold it by that end. You hold it by something kind of south of that end, because that's the hot bit. I was about to say I'm sure that's that's common sense, but actually it possibly isn't, since I do have experience of handing somebody a soldering iron and asking them to hold it. I think they did do that. They didn't hold it for very long. Mind you, they did have a degree, but that was in chemistry. Okay, that's a bit hot. I'm getting touchdown marks, which don't really want. I think that will do that bit. So this board needs some colouring on it, needs a bit of texture on it. So let's see. So I'm tending to use the toe of this tool now, because I want fairly sharp lines, but I don't want to use the knife tool because it will actually cut in. I don't really want it to cut in. I mean, this is cutting in as well slightly, but it is only very slightly because the flat of the tool then stops it going any further. So it just creates kind of a slight divot, I guess, slight crease. Which you can't avoid because any sort of hot tool will cause the wood to shrink away from it. Moving fairly rapidly over the wood here. I want to add colour, a little bit of colour, but I don't want a lot. I want it just fairly light. So I'm moving fairly fast, and that way I'm only applying a small quantity of heat. Which should allow it to just come up with a light colour, which is what I've achieved there. Now what's something a bit darker across here? Not much, but just a bit darker. And again, this isn't necessarily final colour. I very likely will come back and add some more to it. But we've got something at least. Not bad, not bad. I haven't quite decided whether I like it or not. As I said, it is possible to go really dark to start with in one pass, just slow down. But I am being a little bit more cautious, as I've mentioned before with pyrography. I was about to say there's no second chances. That's not true. There is second chances, but there's no erasing. So for doing this sort of thing, it is useful, at least initially, to practice doing start and stops on lines. I'm passable. Not great, but I am passable at it. Now I am out sort of applying the final edge there, but what I'm not going to do is fill in the centre in the same direction. I'm going to fill in coming away from the line in the direction of the wood. And again, you can and should turn the work around as much as you want to do. Strictly speaking, if you wanted to lay on your back, turn the wood upside down and do it best against the ceiling, feel free to do so. Whatever makes it work for you. I'll overshot that edge a little bit. So a tiny amount of adjustment and then the overshoot has gone away. By the way, this is plywood, it's thin plywood, it does get hot on the back. Not too bad, but it does get hot. So you won't necessarily want to use thin plywood on a like a polished surface type table. You should perhaps put something underneath it. Anything, a towel will do, something like that, just to provide some insulation. Incidentally, if you do pyrography on paper, which you can do, generally speaking, sort of rag paper or fairly thick heavyweight paper is best. Definitely put that on something. That stuff is obviously it's thin enough, and you will apply pyrography to your desk through the paper. So it's a one thing to remember. I would love to be able to do the detail that I see in the windows, but I don't think I have the skill to do that myself, which is a pity, but that's what practice is for. Now some of this board has bark on the edge which is really dark and black, and of course there is a massive shadow just underneath because these are overlapping boards. So what I'm doing here is putting that darkness in. Now I need to go back over it again. That darkness actually wants to be wider. Really heavy shadow under this. And although I did turn the tool up a tiny bit a minute ago, most of this is being done just through the longer application of the heat. So a lot more quantity of heat going in, and the pen is stay on the wood for quite a long time, adding in a heck of a lot of heat. Making sure I get a really crisp edge just there. It gives a much better illusion of this board underneath it being underneath it. Yeah, it's not quite as dark down there as I'd like it to be. Really thin areas can be a pain. Sometimes a small ball tip or writing tip can be useful because they can be quite thin to get into some areas, but ultimately you end up switching to sort of the really edge of the tool or even a knife blade in order to get the edge in that you're looking for. Okay, that board should really, and it does look really as though it stood out, this board on top, which actually is looking a lot too light. It's looking a lot too light, but that's actually how it is. And there's always that sort of question. Sometimes, although it looks like what it is it better to change it? Compared with all the other boards, this board is actually really light. The wood preservative has washed off it a long time ago. It's gone silver grey, a really light silver grey. You know, it's sort of like this sort of colours here, which you can't see the colours, but you can see how on this side it doesn't look bad. This board being the only one that's really sort of almost completely washed out, kind of looks odd. And what I may be tempted to do is to actually sort of darken it down a little bit, just so that it kind of resembles the rest, even though it isn't. It should be that sort of colour. That's a choice you make sometimes. Now I also need to enhance some of these lines here. And I need to colour in this bottom board. So again, just like all the others, the rain shadow is quite dark. The rest of the board is so-so in this particular case. One thing you can't really do with a tower fan is tilt it up so it blows upwards. It's blowing straight across me, and so my face is feeling a bit hot, but the rest of me is cool. Which reminds me, I must find a hairband. I've got a sweatband I could do with, even though it makes me look a little bit silly with the band around my head. I'd kind of rather be silly than cool. Not bad. At least I got the colour I wanted there. This one is still a bit light. So I will in a moment go in and put a really dark thick band as I've done on the other boards, but I just want to get this colouring closer to what I want before I do that. Okay, baseline under colour there. Need to add colour to the rest of the board, but let's put this dark edge in. Part of the trick, the illusion, is the really sharp top edge. Now I don't think any of the edges of these boards are actually that sharp, but to see that you've got to get up close. And in the meantime, what I'm doing here is fooling with one of the techniques that your brain understands or has worked out to be able to see things. So a soft woolly edge on one side, sharp edge on the other, means that whatever the woolly edge thing is, it goes under the sharp edge thing. You can have fun with that optical illusion to actually sort of do the reverse, and it messes with your mind when you do that. And again, the boards now lay on top of each other rather nicely. And we'll apply some colour to this edge. Okay, we've almost got half a shed done there. So that tip was looking a little bit perhaps carbonised. So I'm just rubbing it off on some tissue paper or kitchen paper. It's perfectly good to do. By the way, it's a good idea not to use knife blades, sandpaper or similar on your tips. I know there are certain people on the internet that said, you know, to clean your tip use some sandpaper. It's not a good idea. It's actually better if you if the tips are smooth. They glide over the wood better. If you get ridges on them, which you could get with sandpaper, then those ridges are like little points, and the little points is what put a lot of heat in and cause lines in the wood. So if you get scratches on the tool and you run it over a smooth piece of wood, you will find uneven marking, possibly dark lines, and then that's not really what you're after. So if you to clean a tip, you can just use like kitchen paper. It doesn't have to be wet, it can be dry. The tool generally isn't hot enough to ignite paper. Worst you'll do is apply pyrography to it. But if you're fairly quick anyway, it doesn't even get that hot. I wouldn't necessarily hold it in my hand, by the way, to do it, unless it's a fairly thick wad. I wouldn't hold a single sheet, for example. That's asking for trouble. But to clean a tip, if you really have to do it with an abrasive and a harsh abrasive, you need to use something like at least 1500 grit, possibly even 2000 or 4000 grit emery paper. You get a reasonably smooth output from this. But you can also just use a polishing compound. Now, by a polishing compound, I mean the sort of thing that they use in sharpening chisels, or not so much the sort of stuff you'd use to lap a piston, if you're familiar with that sort of stuff, but some of the finer grinding compounds, really fine grinding compounds on a sheet of paper or a wad of paper, and again just running the tool over it. And well, preferably whilst it's cold, otherwise it'll smell like something you don't want to smell. And then once you can then wipe it off and do it on some clean paper to get rid of all the cutting compound or the polishing compound. But that's kind of all you need to do. If it looks shiny, that's good. It runs smoother over the wood. You don't get it catching and skipping, which can cause you all sorts of problems because you then don't get a smooth colour that you're quite likely to be after. Now this is dumping a lot of heat, so what I'm going to do is turn it down. Cool the tip down by just blowing on it a little. And now I am applying less heat, which allows me to work more slowly, which is good when you're trying to start and finish on lines. And if I want the dark colours, then again just applying the heat, but this time for longer. There's less of it, so I have to apply it for longer. And we'll do this last board here. Let's just put a crack in this board. Still not sure about that board. I'm actually also not sure about what I'm going to do about the door, but we'll come to that later. Now then, I am tempted to do something across the top of there. And I think we'll do something across the top of there. So this is dark, but it's not as black as the shadow. And because it is quite dark, I'm not bothered about going over my mark. Previously I would have erased them, or at least some of the ones that I'm about to go over here. But that's because when you put light pyrography over the top of the graphite pencil or graphite, then it kind of is a bit like applying varnish over the top of something. It's there permanently and visible for, let's say, the rest of time. It would be good if these lasted the rest of time, but you know, the rest of their time. Now, sometimes to get something smooth, if you have to smooth, you sometimes need to have more heat so that you can move a little bit faster. Okay. Right, now I'm going to do the other edge of it, turn it over, and they can come down. just over the top of that area, almost as dark but not quite. This is kind of like a light matte black. That's a deep dark shadow. And it's another illustration of when black isn't black, but black is. Okay, so Mike is still alive, just checking that. I am getting a response over there, yes I am. I have been known to broadcast with a muted mic. And especially now, since I have to unplug the analog to digital converter because it's a bit slow to resume from power down sometimes. Actually, what I ought to do potentially, I don't know if it's a power state change or whether it's the software inside which is slow to respond. Perhaps what I ought to do is find out which port it's plugged into and tell that port that it cannot power down. Might have a go with doing that. Because it's blue screening the window, Windows, the computer, from time to time. It looks a bit more respectable. I'm out of water. That's not good. Right. Next board, or next panel. So, rinse and repeat, so to speak. Now, although this shed is somewhat dilapidated, I'm not doing it that much dilapidated. As it is, I should perhaps be saying was. because this shed is no more. Now, for some reason, these boards down this side are fairly well preserved in terms of the wood preserver. He's on most of them. Perhaps because this side of the hut actually is sort of underish trees. That's not showing up quite as well, partly because I think it's just rather dark. I was just thinking about putting the edge board in, which I think I will do. So I'm going to erase this line. Not that I particularly need it anymore, but it was there. I certainly won't need it after I've just gone down here. So all I'm going to do is go down this edge. And again, I'm using the tool up on its toes. So I want some colouring from it though, just not a lot. I shall go back in a minute and reinforce a little bit of this colour. I want that to be a little bit wider. Actually, I might go and put a sharp edge in, because I've got a sharp edge. So turning it round, doing it from the other side. Yeah, this top edge here wants to be quite dark. As we go further down, it gets lighter. So I'm kind of holding the tool at really rather an odd sort of angle, and I'm working off one edge of it. So it's kind of adjusted so that the edge I'm dragging on the wood is the same width as this, the two, between the two lines that I've got down here that I want to fill in. Which means I can sort of do it in one go or one pass without having to take multiple passes, but that doesn't mean I won't go over something more than once. What it means is what I can do in one pass, I don't have to do the same amount in 2 or 3 or 4 as I would have done just using the very tip of the tool, for example. I'll work on that, but that's not too bad. I'm doing detail on that side and you can't see it. Great pity in a way, but it is viewable here, which is kind of the main thing. I must have another go at working again this camera to recognise contrast. But my attempts so far is sort of the closest I've got is the camera appears to breathe. Overshot the window frame a little bit there, but that's not too bad. Ow! I didn't get burned, but that was just, it was a little bit too uncomfortable. Yeah, for some reason most of these boards down here are also in reasonably good shape. Okay, turn it around and make sure I get a good edge on this as well. Still keeping it light. I've got the edge of a door frame, so you kind of probably would be expecting a fairly sharp edge. So apply the base colour. What I'll do now is just go in and add in a few more details. Ooh. It was the area heat manager, I suppose, but let's get a bit of shadow on this. It's not looking as good. And it is a much smaller area in which to sort of develop textures or anything, so let's take that all the way over. So Lady Tara said she would prefer this not to look as dilapidated as it did. So what we'll do is make this board across here straight as opposed to rotting and falling off. Let's come down the other side. So the boards look like they're converging together. So either that's perspective or my hand wasn't steady enough to draw parallel lines. Perspective. Actually it was. Maybe not as good as I was wanting it to be, but that is the intent of those lines coming together a little bit. Here's a little bit of perspective. A little bit more heat. Good. Okay, let's match that up to that. Same there. Ooh. Sorry, I am actually being a bit quiet tonight. Two reasons for that is, well, three reasons. One is rather warm. Two is I'm just feeling like I'm just feeling quiet tonight and getting on with things. The third one is I'm quite tired. I've had sort of some poor nights for the past few nights. Short waking up and what have you. So I'm feeling quite tired. When I'm feeling quite tired, I don't feel like talking much, which of course is what's happening here. I'm not talking much. So I'm also starting to sort of nod off slightly because I'm concentrating so much on what I'm doing. It's making me nod. You might see my eyes sort of slowly closing a little bit a few times. So what I'm going to do, I didn't mean to take that all the way down there. Oh, that's annoying. It's supposed to have stopped about there because there's sort of a hill. Might have to see about disguising that. You see, too tired. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stop for this evening. I'm stopping about 20 minutes early, but I don't want to ruin this. So maybe next stream will be on Friday, 7 PM UK time. So hopefully the studio will be a bit cooler than what we at the moment. 29 degrees here in the studio. So hopefully on Friday we can get a bit cooler and I'll feel a bit more awake as well, because when you're warm you tend to feel sleepy, I think. So if you'd like to see some more of this done, pop back in on Friday. Better still, push the follow button with the, make sure you get the bell symbol, so it goes green I think, so that you get notification. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at @ZavaganArt, because I do tweet when I go live as well. So if you'd like to come back and see some more of the shed being done on Friday, follow me here on Twitch or follow me on Twitter and you'll be notified. If you'd like to see any of the earlier broadcasts of this, some of them are still available here on Twitch. The rest are available on YouTube, youtube.com/ZavaganArt. Trying to get in a theme going here. Where there is just about every broadcast I've ever done there. All in nice, or most of them in nice series, so you can watch whole series too if you really want to watch sort of 2 hours at a time videos. But yeah, see if I can sleep some more tonight. Get some rest before Friday. So with that, thank you for watching. Hope I will see you on Friday. Bye for now.